Mirror, as it's simply referred to, is a Korean artifact dating back to the Goryeo dynasty, approximately 918 to 1392 ADE, and is composed of metal, silver, bronze, and a copper alloy. The piece, which measures 8 1/4 inches in diameter, does not have any personal information attached to it, but certain things can be inferred from an artistic, historical, and social standpoint. The piece, from an artistic standpoint, is very fascinating. The texture of the piece is jagged, flowing, and ruffled like tree branches, water, and leaves. The craftsmen behind this particular piece managed to make the viewer feel these images and textures and associate them with things they would feel in nature. One can almost tell what the image represents simply by the textures utilized. The motion of the flowing waves also works to bring the image to life. The image seems to be a freeze frame in time as a gust of wind flows through the trees and water. The proportions of the piece are slightly warped to fit the circular design, but everything manages to coincide with its size in relation to the rest of the image. It's a lot of clutter in one image, but the rhythm of the piece works and it holds the viewer's attention with excellent design. The piece appears to have a heart and soul and perfectly captures a beautiful moment in nature. It seems images such as these were very popular in their place of origin. According to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, in regards to a similar piece from the same era and location, mirrors similar to this one were popular amongst the upper class. It almost became a tradition to adorn a mirror with various pictorials such as landscapes, scenes, animals, and creatures. The shape of these mirrors depended on their usage. Mirrors like this one were often burial objects or placed in pagodas for ritualistic usage. The more stylized pieces with scalloped edges and pointed lobes were used as secondary decoration pieces and were often placed on stands and displayed in homes of the wealthy. In terms of socially linking the mirror to the 21st century, it demonstrates a critical aspect of every society, and that is acceptance via one's image. Everyone wants to be accepted, and one's appearance is crucial in that respect. That is not to say people should be judged purely on their outward appearance, but we as humans tend to accept or reject others instantly based on how they present themselves. One's appearance can represent their social status, their self esteem, and even their point of view within certain social situations. The mirror also demonstrates how we as people enjoy items that represent one's tastes and interests. The skins on our iPad, cell phone covers, the clothes we wear, and so forth are all expressions of our identity. Most of the items in our homes are there because they appeal to us and to an extent tell who we are. The decorated mirrors enforce the idea that we want things visually stimulating with our personal stamp on them. People tracing back millennia have done this, and the tradition of personalization has only increased with time. Standing Virgin and Child with Pedestal is a French alabaster sculpture dating back to the 14th century. The 35-inch figure is a representation of the Virgin Mary holding an infant Jesus Christ. The sculpture is also mounted on a hexagonal pedestal. Each of the small sides of the pedestal appear to display one individual while the longer sides display four. There are also small pillars separating the figures. In total, there are 12 figures, which may represent the 12 apostles who followed Jesus. It is possible that this particular sculpture is meant to showcase the individual in Jesus Christ's life whom cherished him and vice versa. In terms of the formal elements presented in the piece, the surface and texture are both negative and positive. The surface of the pedestal where the 12 figures reside are not deeply cut, which subtracts slightly from the three-dimensional feel trying to be achieved. On the other hand, the facial features of Mary and Jesus and the creases in her gown are all smooth in texture. The faces are almost round. Circular shapes seem to inhabit a majority of the sculpture and seem to add a level of innocence to Mary and Jesus. Perhaps making the features more childish was a way of demonstrating their pureness. The proportions of Mary and Jesus are spot on. The only deviation in terms of proportion involves the apostles holding enlarged shields or coat of arms. But despite such a minor issue, the sculpture is truly a sight to witness. All the elements mesh quite well, and the overly rounded figures give it its own voice. It's a gorgeous piece of art. The sculptural representations of the Virgin Mary, Jesus, and other holy events and individuals are still as popular as ever in the 21st century. Small figures, medallions, and a variety of other items seem to depict one's religious background. The sculpture does not directly influence modern religious practices, but religion in general has been, and always will be, an integral part of society that is reflected in artistic mediums. The Allegory Music is an oil painting on canvas dating back to the year 1649. The piece is the work of French artist Laurent Delahaye and is a representation of music in the form of symbolic imagery. The 41 and 5/8 by 56 and 3/4 inch piece features a woman tuning an instrument called the theorbo, and a small bird sits perched on her shoulder as if nature itself is helping her to tune the instrument. The Metropolitan Museum of Art states that painting could represent the contrast of natural music and artificial music. In terms of formal elements, the lines of the piece are implied. The position of the hands follows a diagonal path, and a similar diagonal path is used between the bird and the woman's eye. The texture and dimension of the painting is truly amazing. The way the light reacts to the creases in the clothing and against the pillars in the background is stunning. One can almost feel the linens and the items placed around the woman. The colors used are quite interesting and aesthetically pleasing to the eye. The colors are muted but yet very vibrant, and the painting just manages to come together on every possible level. There is an artistic unity in this particular piece. In relation to the 21st century, music is a universal language. Communication is one of the prime attributes that link all living things of their own species, and music is one of the most basic forms of communication. Some of the oldest recovered relics in the past were simple instruments. The allegory music harkens back to the idea that music is everywhere and it is essential, and in the current age, music has become a lifestyle. Most young people use music to identify with themselves, others, and latch on to what a song has to say. The painting may also represent the universal concept that inspiration can come from anywhere, and that beautiful music doesn't have to be adjusted or altered by machines.